You know, when they first announced Quest 64, my brother and I were super excited. We love RPGs, so playing one on the Nintendo 64 was going to be fantastic. And then it turned into a huge disappointment. Not only because it needed the memory card to save, which we did not have, but also because the game itself is just bad. Now, I had a couple of ideas that I wanted to talk about. The battle system, the wonky camera, or how you can trick the agility stat by increasing by simply taking a rubber band, wrapping it around the control stick, and just leaving it on overnight. You'll just keep running around in a circle and increase your stats while you sleep. And when I was writing that, I thought, this sounds really familiar. And so I looked it up. And sure enough, Pro Jared already did this review. And to be fair, he did it a lot better than I could. Now, lest people think that I'm a Pro Jared wannabe, I had to come up with something I could talk about Quest 64 that hadn't been said before. So, how about the fact that it's a Game Boy game?
Now, before I dive into the review of this game, I want to make one thing clear. I beat this game legitimately. I bought the game, played it on my Game Boy Advance, and beat it without cheating. But since I don't have any way of recording footage from my Game Boy to the computer, at least not yet, I had to emulate the game to get the footage, and you're crazy if you think I'd beat the game twice legitimately just for footage. So yeah, I hacked the shit out of the game for recording. This meant that the game was only marginally easier than when I played it on the Game Boy. Now the reason I bring this up, other than just to oust myself and hang a lampshade on the fact that I'm using emulation, is that hacking the game actually does tie into the core battle mechanic and the only real reason to play this game: the leveling. Now usually in an RPG, you kill enemies, they give you experience, which you absorb into your body, and then once you reach an arbitrary limit, you subtly increase your ability slightly, right? The Quest games are unique in that you increase your stats through specific actions. The more you use your magic, the more your magic increases. The more damage you take, the more defense increases, stuff like that. Now, I'm sure the manual of the game explains exactly how specifically to increase each stat, but I don't have the manual. What I do have is a RAM watcher. I'll make a video later explaining the specifics of what I did, but the long and short of it is, I found which values in the game increased by doing certain actions, and from that was able to glean how the game works. Now you might think this is overkill, that I should just go online and find a guide to tell me how the game's leveling mechanic works. Well, you see, the problem with that is that there really only exists one such guide on GameFAQs, and it's one that I wrote after doing the hacking. But, you know, I digress. You're all here for the plot, and this game only slightly disappoints in that aspect. This is Brian. He's a spirit tamer living in Keltwood. One day, he is attacked by a monster and someone steals the Eletail Book, a magical tome which holds awesome power. Now he's on a quest to find it. And that's about as far as the plot takes you, honestly. Brian is told by his dad, Bart, to go to their house in town, where Brian meets a man who's robbing the place.
There are some who call me Tim.
Bart goes off on a journey, and afterwards you go see the abbot of the monastery, and he's like, "I saw the future, get the fuck out!" And Brian's like, "Yeah, okay." And so you leave the town and begin your adventure. This game is very linear. I get the feeling that they really wanted to make a big world reminiscent of Final Fantasy, but they kind of didn't know how to do that and still give instructions to the player to get them to the next plot point. So instead, you pretty much walk from one end of a canyon to another, stopping at every town, cave, and forest along the way.
Now, the first town has a problem, which is, granted, one of the greatest RPG cliché issues of our time. The princess is a tomboy!
Shame.
She wants to wear pants!
Shame.
She doesn't like sewing!
Shame.
She doesn't want a prearranged marriage!
Shame.
We also encounter RPG cliché number 2. The bandit stole the treasure! Of course, the marriage to the princess ties into this, and just as this asshole, Doorly, is about to propose, this other asshole is like, "Hey, remember me, nerds? I'm taking the girl, bye!" And then he leaves behind a handful of his tough men to fight a poor 10-year-old boy with a stick.
Oh, shit, did I forget to mention that I'm a super powerful wizard? Shit, that's my bad.
Well, following RPG cliché number 3, the princess has been kidnapped, we'll head into RPG cliché number 4, which is bandits are hiding in the woods. In the woods, we encounter the enigmatic Shannon, who informs us of the plot. Yep, those sure are words that she's saying. A short trek in the forest later, I encounter Solvaring, the bandit king who thinks he's all that. He says that he's got an earth orb, so I, in kind, give him a bunch of orb-shaped chunks of earth. And then he dies. Now, I say the princess, and RPG cliché number 5 happens as I'm permitted to keep the earth orb because for some reason the king thinks I should have it. Somehow he knows I'm looking for the Eltail book and it'll help me? I'm not sure how exactly, but okay, pretty rock, I'll stash it in my inventory. The status screen here allows us to save, see the wings that we've collected, which allow you to fly back to previous towns, and of course, who could forget VLBS? What does VLBS even mean? Very lewd butt stuff? Vanessa Lewis beats salamanders? I'll never understand what this is. I don't get it. Anyway, Brian continues his journey onto a boat where he meets Colleen, who seems to be just a teensy bit racist, but is trying to play it off like it's no big deal.
What do you mean, one of you?
We get boarded by pirates and I give them a couple of rounds to repent, then they burn. A short hike later, we arrive at Larapool, where as soon as Brian shows up, he's whisked away and thrown into a dungeon. Not like he did something wrong or anything, they just need his help, so off he goes into a monster-infested territory to get a mermaid orb. You get to the end of RPG cliché number 6, the Ice Dungeon, and encounter RPG cliché number 7, the wizened but yet powerful old woman. She gives you the damn rock you were looking for, you give it to the lady who kidnapped you, and then she spins around for a little bit. Now I have to move on to the next RPG cliché, the Perilous Cavern or Mine, where I encounter the first enemy to withstand my one-punch man treatment. This tough son of a bitch took 2 punches to explode into bits. Good for him. The end of this cavern brings on an RPG cliché 8 and 9, a water dragon, and a trial to prove that I'm ready to keep on keeping on. And it's at this point that I start learning the awesome potential of rocks. I'm all like, catch! And he's like, oh, fuck! And I'm like, yeah! This puts me in the next town that's having a problem, because they have all of these windmills but no wind. Even the inn won't run.
What do you mean customers aren't coming? I'm a customer. Me. Accept my custom, damn it!
We fight another spirit monk from a place called Barragoon. He's going after the SOB who stole the wind gem. Then he's later told that people from Barragoon are hunting spirit monks, and he's like,
What? No.
Like, dude, you just fought me 15 minutes ago because you found out I was a spirit monk. No one's buying your incredulity.
Hey, so when is Brian gonna show up in Larapool?
Dude, he left a long time ago.
Shit, no, he needs to go and collect a water gem while he's there. Can we send someone to go pick him up?
So someone grabs Brian away from the main plot. After what's supposed to pass for witty banter in this game, I go and fight Nepti, an evil mermaid thing that stole the water gem. She calls Brian a child. Ha, just a child? Well, who's a child now? Not you, because I just bludgeoned you to death with a bunch of rocks, just like a grown-up would do. Our next destination is another cave where we meet this guy, Lavar, who I'm sure we've met before, but I'm just not entirely sure where. Now this is awkward. But this is the jerk who stole the Eltail book, so of course we have to fight. Then shortly afterwards we encounter the notorious criminal Fargo, who just happens to have the fire gem. And his dialogue here, I honestly can't tell if he's boasting or just stating facts. I know so little about the world around me, it really could be either. Anyways, I defeat him with my most powerful spell, summon a bunch of rocks. Then, after traveling through the desert, we meet Shannon again, who asks why we're fighting for humans. Shannon, aren't you supposed to be human? I mean, like, I know that you're pretty much a puppet, but Brian doesn't know that yet. You should probably keep the whole not being a human thing on the down low. Next is the fire cave, and then the city where everyone is suicidally depressed. No, the other one. Apparently, the king here is the antagonist whom I've never really heard about before. Seems like he'd be important, but I'm sure he'll be gone just as soon as he shows up, right? I sneak into the palace, then immediately, and I do mean immediately, get spotted by Shannon, who tells me that Lavar is over there. Baffling? No! I just got kicked out of my home following an extremely vague prophecy and have been told literally nothing about what I'm supposed to be doing or what I'm supposed to be accomplishing, but it doesn't seem to matter because every other person has a magic rock I get if I kill someone else, and that's gonna help me get a book because all of that makes perfect fucking sense. I then fight Lavar twice in a row for no reason. Alright, game, I give up. You win.
So the bad guys try to use a giant cannon to blow up the monastery, but that's flying, I guess, and Shannon says that's a good thing. And then my dad Bart shows up for all of 2 minutes before he dies, and I get teleported to the town outside the monastery, and for some fucking reason Shannon's already there, and she's either trying to help me or she's trying to taunt me, and I honestly don't know which.
Now I get to do a best of tours. I bounce from location I visited to other locations I visited in order to get some magic mirror or some shit. I don't know, rocks! I now have to kill that dragon for a scale to fix the mirror, and once again, the dragon talks about some future that I have no clue what they're talking about. The pirate shows off that English is a second language, and we warp to the evil king. We fight his minion Guilty, who was never introduced or talked about before now, and we fight him.
What are you trying to say?
The power trio enters a door into a magic dimension where we run into Shannon, and the princess seems to misunderstand the relationship between me and Shannon. Whoa, okay, let's slow it down there. She's just some chick I sometimes talk to at the bar. She's not a friend or anything. She's not even human, see? But don't worry, she'll open up the jail, which is either a typo or the old English way of writing jail. I'm betting the former. Now we fight the ultimate last boss, Mammon, and he's no match for me or my avalanche of rocks. Oh, damn. Mammon is defeated, and I guess that was the point all along. Shannon wanders off to discover what life means, and the game credits roll on. I don't know. So I was originally going to tie this ending into an upcoming review of Quest 64 video that I was working on, but Bro Jared kind of put the kibosh on that. So I don't really have an ending anymore. Anyway, bye.
Who would cross the bridge of death must answer me these questions 3. Ere the other side he see.
Ask me the questions, Bridgekeeper. I am not afraid.
What is your quest?
I don't know that.